And to unpack these, I'm joined live on the news by the coordinator, Nigerian Farmers Group, Retson Tedheke. Good afternoon, Retson. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here with you this morning or afternoon.
All right, talk to me about how the infrastructure challenges such as poor road networks and also lack of storage facilities can be addressed to help farmers produce much more.
Let me be very clear on this, because it is important we are very clear when it comes to dealing with agriculture. The country is having a food production challenge, and basic infrastructure is what we need. If you want not just a productive economy when it comes to agriculture, we are almost all agrarian in our approach to agriculture. So government at the state, at the local state, at the federal level must consider that if you want to get food across to the people, if you want to make food cheap, the first thing you do is to focus on basic infrastructure. What am I talking about? Basic access roads. What am I talking about? Basic electricity. What am I talking about? Basic healthcare support structure that makes it easier for Nigerians to produce, that makes it easier for Nigerians to take their whatever they produce to the market. So what needs to happen now, no matter the noise you make, if you don't provide basic infrastructure, if you don't provide basic support services, if you don't provide basic support system that aids the rural farmers, you cannot think about providing food security. So that is very important, and that is very necessary. I often say that when governors decide that they want to do airport, that they want to do laterite road, asphalt and coal road, they are making a mistake of ignoring what is necessary to take care of food. If you don't solve the food crisis, you cannot solve your societal crisis. So in solving the food crisis, you need basic infrastructure. Is government doing enough? I'm afraid to say no. I love the fact that the president went to commission tractors yesterday, but then the question is simple. In commissioning those tractors, how many tractors are you going to be able to put out there? Because that's actually part of the infrastructure. You should be able to put at least, we have 774 local government. How many of those local government can do what needs to be done in agriculture with regards to the infrastructure they need? So focus on what the local government needs. Focus on what can be done at the local government. So one form of agriculture or the other. So the food security crisis. And so if basic infrastructure is necessary, government is not doing enough. Government needs to double their effort and make sure that, yes, development finance is the key towards the helping.
Okay, you've talked about infrastructure, but I was meaning to ask you, beyond infrastructure, how can farmers be protected from the risk of food price volatility, both locally and also in the global markets?
Let me answer your question by saying this. As a country, we tend to be chasing the wrong horse. Globally, we are having food security challenges. Nationally, we are lacking the capacity to be able to support a system that produces food for all of our people. So what needs to happen is simple. It's for us to be able to maximize the opportunities that we have. We need a global support system that puts food on the table. But in putting food on the table, we need to also, for what is what, put our energy and our effort into productive capacity and ability. Internationally, every nation is looking at the opportunities and the ability to produce food for her own people. So it is not all about chasing what is necessary globally. It's all about looking at what is necessary locally. Because, and I say this painfully, with a lot of pain in my heart. You have 200 million mouths to feed. That is a priority. You have over 70 million hectares of farmland, out of which 40 million is arable. That is a pain that needs to be solved. You have a population that is averaging about 19 years old. 19 years old. That is the people that are willing to go out and work. So why don't you deploy this population into these hectares of farmland and then create a system, just like is done in Asia, that is able to not only feed your people, but that evolves a technology that is able to ensure that as a nation, you have negotiating and power. What I mean by negotiating power? You have the ability to negotiate, not just with the World Bank, not just with IMF, but with international agencies to say, look, I can produce food. I have the population to feed. I have a population that can become industrious. Look at India. What did India do with their population in ICT? What does China do with their population as being the factory of the world? What is the ability of the Nigerian state to negotiate with our population with the international community? We have not been able to negotiate. And because you have not been able to negotiate, you have become a beggar nation that is asking the world to give you food to eat. Look, we must get out of that state because currently the nation is chasing dollars. The CBN is looking for forex. The CBN is looking for support. The CBN is looking for dollars to come into the country. FDIs, FPIs, whatever that name is. The question is, if you become locally productive and you add value to your production, the crude oil cost will be lifted off your head. Your focus then becomes, if I am able to add value from my local productivity to the food that I produce, I will add more. It is like the chocolate industry. Chocolate industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Cocoa industry is also a multi-billion-dollar industry. But you must be able to convert cocoa to chocolate. The same thing with sesame. The same thing with maize. The same thing with yam. So until and unless we're able to get that equation right, we will be working as slaves to produce what the world needs without adding value to our nation, to our productivity, to our capacity, and to us as a people. So until and unless we understand the psyche of global development and productivity, we will keep chasing, like I said, monetary policies that are intent to make sure we have dollars. But what are you producing? Until you solve the supply side, you cannot solve the demand side because the demand will always be there, knowing that we have become an import-dependent nation. We have always been an
I'm afraid that's the most we can take on the news. Thank you so much for your insight. Retson Tedheke, Coordinator, Nigerian Farmers Group. Thank you so much for your insight.